Bitcoin has dropped every single Monday since we made that 126K all-time high. In today's video, we'll be discussing if this same pattern is about to repeat as we head into the week with potentially more aggressive selling, or if we can continue to try to form a bottom from around these levels. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. Please don't shoot the messenger, but as you can see here, since we had that 126K all-time high, Bitcoin has essentially dropped every single Monday. Yes, we get those relief rallies, but on the Monday, we tend to go ahead and move lower. Now, what is different this time around? First and foremost, as we discussed in my previous video, we had a pretty decent wick to the downside on the 3-day chart. Now, this could resemble a capitulation wick, but as we know, bottoms take time to form. Now, I've already shared my trade with you, and you can see that I did go ahead and secure some more profits since my previous video. I'm currently sitting just around $60,000 in profit with over 100K in unrealized profits because we entered right when we had this massive wick down. It was an excellent opportunity. And remember, if you want to know exactly how I am personally trading this market, you have the first link in my description down below. You DM me the word premium on Telegram, and I would be happy to onboard you into my free premium group. The only requirement is that you've signed up with one of these links in the description down below, and you start trading on one of these platforms as you already would. And the best part, if you're already actively trading on one of these platforms, we can easily transfer you under my referral and you'll get access to that group. I also have a disclaimer right here down below. I am not a financial advisor, and anything that I discuss on the channel should not be construed as financial advice. Please make sure to always do your own research. Now, we talked about how this is a pretty strong demand zone for Bitcoin, but bottoms take time to be formed. And on this trade, like I shared last time, my stop loss is currently sitting at break even. So if the price is to go down, I will not be losing any capital, and this will indeed close as a very profitable trade. What could be next here? Because I showed you the chart. The proof is in the pudding. Every single Monday since we've had that 126K top has resulted in a dump. The real question will be, what is going to come from the ETF side of things? Because when we get massive outflows, naturally the price continues to nuke. But we also know that Binance have been absolutely nuking Bitcoin as well, because they have aggressive sellers on the platform coming in day by day over the past few weeks. We need to also consider the fact that we do have a CME gap right at this level, just above $85,000. So, as I discussed in my group this morning, I would be very shocked if we don't go ahead and fill this, because most of these CME gaps get filled almost instantly, especially with this most recent Bitcoin price action, where we've essentially just continued to dump over and over and over again, day by day, week by week. I'm still in my Bitcoin dominance long on bluff, and I'll keep you updated if anything changes. But right now, because of these choppy market conditions, I still think that Bitcoin dominance can go a little bit higher. So I'm willing to hold out on closing out any more of this trade. So here's the thing. In my group, we talked about how we would be targeting $88,000 since we had that big wick down on Friday. We did go ahead and break above $88,000. Our TP1 was officially hit, and I took another 10% profits on my trade, which I just showed you. Now, in my opinion, best case scenario would be if we go ahead and fill the CME gap, and then we can go ahead and move higher, because yes, there is still a lot of short liquidity in the market. Worst case, well, you know how bad it can get if the ETFs and Binance smash the sell button as hard as they did last week, which is also why I've protected my position with my stop loss now at break even. When you have an excellent entry, that's all you can really do. Take profits along the way, move your stop loss at break even, especially with these shaky market conditions. So my base case here is that, yes, we will go ahead and fill that CME gap. However, the question is, are we just going to roll over like every single Monday? The price action on Friday was positive in my opinion, leaving a pretty big wick to the downside on the 3-day chart for Bitcoin. However, I think the bottom will take time to form if we are to form a bottom from around here. So from a trading perspective, you need to remain extremely vigilant here, because it's highly likely that Bitcoin just goes ahead and chops around before we make another move to the upside, which would be that relief rally that we've been discussing. Every single time that we've been forming these bottoms, you can see how it plays out. We end up chopping around, and then we get a big move to the upside. Now, this big move to the upside would be a move above $100,000 in my opinion. The question is, when will the move start? Because we hit our 88K TP1 in my group. Now I'm questioning whether or not we're going to go ahead and tap into this low once more. I would actually see this as another opportunity to potentially go long if we go ahead and revisit the bottom of this wick, maybe even break below it, below $80,000, then we go ahead and reclaim it. That could be an excellent long trigger in my opinion. Now, I also want to touch on the liquidation heat map because you can see that there are some aggressive shorts that have piled in. There's a lot of PTSD. Lots of shorters in the market. However, we do have a pretty high liquidity zone right above $83,000. First and foremost, this gap will likely get filled. As I'm recording this video, we're basically just $800 away. So it wouldn't surprise me if by the time I upload, we've already filled the gap. Then we'll have to see what the price action gives us, because I do tend to like these kind of aggressive moves down. It signals to us that yes, we have reached higher time frame demand and we're trying to go ahead and form that bottom. USDT dominance, we need to discuss this because if USDT dominance ends up confirming above this wick, 6.76% that is, at that point in time, guys, it will not be looking good for the crypto market. Ideally, we get a rejection here from this crucial zone, and if we are to move lower, this would be the relief rally that I've been discussing. Now let's quickly take a look at Ethereum. I'm actually interested in building out an Ethereum long. However, we need to see what Bitcoin gives us first, as I always have been saying on the channel. Bitcoin determines the rest of the market. It's why I've been so bearish on altcoins, and it's also why I'm hesitant to go aggressively long in any kind of alts, even with a little bit of outperformance here, because if Bitcoin does go ahead and roll over, alts will capitulate in my opinion. Now, let's see how it plays out, because Ethereum did lose some extremely crucial levels, namely that $3,000 level. This was not the level that I wanted to see us lose, but naturally, that's what happens when Bitcoin does go ahead and show sustained weakness. We have a pretty interesting week ahead because for the first time during this violent downtrend, funding finally flipped negative. What this means is the shorts are paying the longs in this market. People want to go short. However, right around this zone, if I can give you my honest thoughts here, I don't think it makes sense to go long, but I also don't think it makes sense to go aggressively short. We've had a massive move down, and in my opinion, we are trying to establish where this bottom would be. From a risk to reward perspective, yes, we discussed that it made sense to go long when we had this movement and it was shared in my group, but right now I would not recommend entering any kind of aggressive positions because we simply do not know what the market is going to do next. If we start the day off with some aggressive selling once more, we could be in for another crappy week for Bitcoin. And as a matter of fact, before I go ahead and share this in my group, I would actually be looking to enter a short if Bitcoin does go ahead and break back above $88,000, $90,000, targeting the lows once more before I potentially go ahead and go long. If you're not a trader, you might not understand what I'm talking about, but the point is we can make money in both directions in this market, and that is exactly what I'm trying to show you on my YouTube channel. Remember, I'm not a financial advisor, just sharing with you how I'm currently trading this market. Also, if you're looking for an alternative trading platform, make sure to check out Velto, which is the third link in my description down below. Now, ETFs, we simply do not want to see more selling this week. Plus, we need to understand if the large US seller is still active or if he's out of coins. If we don't get aggressive selling when the New York session opens, it's at that point in time that we can start to talk about with a reasonable amount of certainty whether or not that was the low. However, in my experience, it will take time to establish this low. We will likely have some wicks to the upside. We will likely have some wicks to the downside. And so if you're not a trader, this is okay to just sit on your hands simply because this could easily chop you out if you're inexperienced. And the last thing I wanted to discuss in today's video, the key events of this week. Tomorrow we have a big day with the September PPI inflation data, the retail sales data. Then we also have the November CB consumer confidence data, October pending home sales data. And then on Wednesday, we have the Q3 2025 GDP data, along with the September durable goods order data, the September PCE inflation data, and the September new home sales data. Massive couple days here. On Thursday, the US markets are closed because it's Thanksgiving, and we also have the US markets closed at 1 p.m. Eastern time on Friday. So what does this mean? When the markets have been closed, we have been seeing some spot buying for Bitcoin. So potentially this is the time where we start to really turn things around. That being said, we have also seen that over the past few months, a lot of the reversals have been stemming from the weekend period. And so potentially this could signify that Bitcoin does want to go ahead and move higher, back above $90,000 and then back above $100,000 for that relief rally. Now, I'm actually looking for a cheeky short if we are to, for example, get rejected at the yearly open once more, which is right around $93,500. Still a ways away. I just trade the market that's right in front of me. You saw that I went long when everyone was capitulating, and right now I'm simply just holding out on that position after we've secured some profits. Now, Bitcoin is likely to continue to chop around, shaking out a lot of aggressive longs, but also shaking out a lot of aggressive shorts. That capitulation wick that we got on Friday, in my opinion, is the sign that we want to reverse, but these bottoms can take time. Remember, if you're not a seasoned trader, it's perfectly okay to sit on your hands during this period in time. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.